Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live, talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynn@pghcitypaper.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Hey, thank you very much for joining us. This is August 29th, a Thursday in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. For that matter, it's a Thursday in, Charlottesville, Virginia. Is Charlottesville in Virginia? I believe so. It's Thursday pretty much in a whole lot of places in the world, so why I said in Pittsburgh, I have no idea. It doesn't make any sense. Got a lot for you today, including a guest coming in later, who puts out I don't even know what you call those things. I used to call it a newspaper, but it's online, puts out a newspaper from which I get a lot of my local information. It's called the Incline. So we'll talk about that for those of you who sometimes feel you're not getting a lot of local news given the disappearing Post-Gazette. So we'll talk to her about the new face of Pittsburgh local news coverage. And then there's just a whole bunch of other stuff. Let's start with two of the inexplicable horrors emanating from the Trump administration today. I'm just in case you haven't heard, the one truly inexplicable one to me is that the Trump administration has now decided that people in our military who have a child overseas, that child will no longer be granted automatic American citizenship. Wouldn't that mean John McCain would not have been an American citizen at birth? Because he was born in Mexico because his father was deployed there. I mean, do you know how many people, our service people are sent overseas, sometimes for years and years. They have children. Those children, because they're born to an American parent, are automatically an American. What the hell difference does it make where they happen to geographically be? The demoralizing aspect of this for the few Americans who volunteer to actually serve in our armed forces is obvious. It's unbelievable. It's just frigging unbelievable. And in fact, you would be hard-pressed to find anybody at the Pentagon that is not infuriated by this senseless, needless. Oh, yes, they are allowed to apply to have their children become naturalized American citizens. And, fine, see how that goes. I suppose if the child has the wrong skin color, you can just call it a day. It's unbelievable. Sometimes you see these headlines in our world today, and you think it has to. You can't believe your eyes. The first reaction is always, why? Has there been some problem? Why? And how? Okay. The other one that I have the same reaction to, why? The misnamed Environmental Protection Agency, which now is, under the Trump administration, quite clearly the Environmental Pollution Agency, standing its mission on its head. The EPA has now decided it will totally loosen up those rules on methane being spewed into the environment at the source where natural gas is at the well head. That's where the methane comes from, also in the transmission equipment, in pipelines. And all of the storage facilities, wherever methane might be leaking out into our air, they're going to roll those back. Methane is the biggest driver of climate change. What would be the purpose? Oh, I know what you're thinking. The purpose would be that, Exxon, Mobil, Shell, all those guys who are, who own all this stuff would want it because it means they don't have to spend money maybe on, tightening up stuff. But that's not it. Says right here, several of the world's largest fossil fuel companies, including Exxon, Shell, and who else? A whole bunch of others, and BP, oppose the rollback and urge the Trump administration to keep current standards in practice. What? Okay, so the president of Shell US said this yesterday when she heard about it. It's a woman. We believe sound environmental policies are foundational to the vital role natural gas can play in the energy transition, and have made clear our support for the 2016 law. There's the problem. It got passed in the end stages of the Obama presidency. And so, with the anything Obama did has got to be dismantled. Shell has been on board to reduce its methane leakage from all of its global operations to less than 0.2% by 2025. They get it. Until they don't, but good God in heaven. There is no reason at all here's someone from the director of the Climate Law Institute. The EPA is now so determined to actually increase greenhouse pollution that it's even shrugging off concerns from oil and gas companies about gutting these protections. Fracked gas is a climate killer, and Trump's rash embrace of this dirty stuff showcases the need for the next president to commit to a rapid phase out of fossil fuels. Okay, those are the two stories that today made my head spin. As you know, there will be more. Laura says, wait a minute, if I heard you correctly, and these children born to American citizens in the military stationed overseas would not be citizens, then those children would then never be able to run for president of our country. That is true. A naturalized citizen. My son is a naturalized citizen. He can never be president, never run for. Yeah, you're right. Well, tough, Laura. They had the mistake of choosing their parents incorrectly. They chose real American patriots willing to volunteer to serve overseas in the defense of American liberty. I mean, what the F is next? All right. And I want to, okay, I just want to add this in here because I spoke at length the other day about the documentary The Factory, about a former General Motors plant in Dayton, or just outside of Dayton, Ohio, I believe, that was closed in 2008 and then reopened under Chinese control and repurposed as, Barbara is telling me, just so we clear this up, not all service members are affected, but some are. And this continues the Trump administration. I mean, we know they have actually deported veterans who fought. You know, people that don't have their citizenship yet, immigrants to our country, sign on, pledge to live and die for the United States of America, even though they are yet to be citizens. They fight and die. They come back to the country they fought and died for, and they get deported under this vile administration. So Barbara is telling me what it is in plain English is children who are adopted by U.S. service members abroad and children who are born to service members while overseas who are not yet citizens but merely green card holders will not receive automatic citizenship by merely living with their parents who are, by order of the U.S., living overseas. So if they hadn't joined to die for America with their green cards and not been deployed to some hellhole country, then what? If they dare to have a child, that child will be punished because they're not in the U.S. If they were in the U.S. physically, it's all about GPS. Where are you? What the? Wow. This is, I mean, the picky Eunice BS crapola that this, these are just awful people. They are just evil, cruel, racist, greedy, awful people. So back to the factory. And then this factory in Dayton reopens under Chinese rule and is repurposed to make auto glass, not the whole car. And I was blown away by the documentary. And one of the things that was so clear, the clash of culture, of workplace culture, where the American workers are now working for Chinese folks who have no regard for worker safety, no idea that a worker has a life beyond the factory floor. And there was a story in the Washington Post today about the guy who owns Alibaba, one of the richest men in the world, a guy named Jack Ma. Alibaba, the Amazon of China. He is the one who was the founder, essentially, of something called 996. That's a work practice in the Chinese tech industry. And what it means is employees are expected to work from 9 to 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week. That's a normal Chinese worker shift. 12-hour days, 6 days a week. Ah, I see that. And that is prevalent in Chinese tech work. So you can see why the Chinese coming over here to Dayton think the American workers are lazy. They don't want to work 12 hours. They want what? Overtime? What? They only want to work 5 days a week? What the hell? 996. Earlier this year, Ma said, get this, that the opportunity to work such hours was a blessing, and that without this kind of working culture, China's economy was very likely to lose vitality and impetus. Meanwhile, the chief executive of his rival tech e-commerce company, a guy named Richard Liu, decided 996 wasn't enough. And he said he works 8116 plus 8. This is the new kind of macho over in China. Or this guy works 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and then 8 hours on Sunday. Oh my, I just, so as watch that documentary, and now with this more information in mind, and because it is a canary in the coal mine. It shows you what American workers, God help them, what American workers, if they manage to have manufacturing jobs in the future, could likely be having to deal with. Longer work days, longer work weeks, no union representing them, of course. Like ants. They're looked at like ants. And ants are hard workers, as you know. Jesus, why are you sending me crap like this? Or somebody did. Michelle Malkin announces U.S. border and sanctuary city. No, Regnery Publishing. Michelle Malkin, who is an evil, foul human being, will be embarking on a 17-stop tour through U.S. border cities in her highly anticipated and explosive new book, Open Borders. Who is funding America's destruction? I'm sure I've told you in the past, this is published by Regnery Publishing, which is headquartered in Chicago, and I had the true misfortune of working as a secretary to Regnery, who now runs this. He was a young guy. I was a young person, too. I don't think he was much over 28, 29, and I was about 22. I felt like we were sort of the same age. This was in Madison, Wisconsin, and this awful human being had graduated from law school and gotten a job with a law firm there. And I was a legal secretary. This is when I was married and living on a pig farm, before I went back to school and got a degree. And I worked for him. And I understood his dad had this publishing company, and he ended up taking it over and made it into All they do is publish crap like this. Regnery. Takes me back. Okay, let's do a happy one. It's not happy. It's funny, I guess. Did you see the piece that was in the Washington Post about trouble at the dog park? Huh? Okay, I go to dog parks a lot because I have a dog. And dog parks are places where a dog is allowed to run free, to cavort with other dogs, chase balls, catch frisbees. They're delightful places. And these places are, fenced in, so the dogs don't run away. Well, there's a dog park in one of the toniest suburbs of Maryland, right near Washington, D.C., Chevy Chase. And it's rather new. And the average household income in this community. The average household income is $460,000 a year. That's the average. If you make a mere $400,000 a year, why, you're looked down upon. So the fancy schmancy village of Chevy Chase spent $134,000, a drop in the bucket, to turn a triangle of land into a dog park just last fall. And the people were loving it. The dogs were loving it. One woman whose backyard abutted to the dog park was not. Dogs were barking! So they put up a sign in the dog park that says, "No excessive barking." So anytime a dog barks in this dog park, the owner goes, "Shh, shh, really, shh, no, don't, Chubbs, don't." Things got so bad that the woman who runs the chair of the village board, a woman named Alyssa Leonard, ended up having to field and rage. She's now caught in the middle between dog owners and dog haters, I guess. Guess who she is, this head of the chairman of the board of the village of Chevy Chase? She's married to a guy who's also a chairman. He's chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell. And of course, Jay Powell, I think his name is. And Jay Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve, is the one that has been called an enemy of the people by the president, right? God, I can't, let's hear it for this poor couple. I mean, seriously, just both trying to be good citizens and public servants, taking it on the chin. He at least gets paid. My bet is she doesn't get a penny, but I don't think they need it. Joni Edwards, who has been calling police because of the barking, said, "Around dinner time, I'd like to be able to sit on my deck and maybe read a book, chat with a friend, or sip a glass of wine. And the dogs are barking." First of all, I want to say this. Every dog park I have been to, you don't hear much dog barking. There's not a lot of barking that goes on. There's mostly just play. And not a lot of dogs bark. And here's another person who didn't like it. There are people, and I don't mean to characterize the district. She means the District of Columbia. But I have noticed that they have district plates on their cars when they come to the park. And they have very little regard for us or our property. So they're going to blame the barking dogs on a bad element driving in from D.C.? The poor village chairperson, the wife of the poor chair of the Federal Reserve, said in the latest public meeting about this, I hear you. I hear you. And according to the Washington Post reporter, she repeated this over and over to all these irate citizens with the patience of a dog trainer. She explained to the residents that no, they could not keep dogs who happened to reside in the District of Columbia out of their dog park. They did decide, however, to take the very existence of the dog park off the webpage of the village. You know, here it's all right here, sort of in a nutshell. I don't know. What happens here? No conclusion has been reached. They're going, I guess they're closing it up. They're taking the fence out. That's what it is. No, that's what they're planning. September 9th, there'll be a vote. Dog lovers are planning to crowd the hearing. Save the Chevy Chase Dog Park. What are they going to do next? Ban dancing? And I don't even have a dog in this fight, said somebody who lives nearby. Here's a piece from the reporter did a hell of a job on this. Okay. They should be put in jail, said Doug Gansler, a former Maryland attorney general and an unsuccessful gubernatorial candidate, while his King Charles spaniel, Jack, searched for a new dog to hump. Doug! Scolded Patty Martin, mother to the park's unofficial mayor, a French bulldog named Louis, and wife to the head of gastroenterology at Washington Hospital. She, too, thought the complainers were being selfish. Where's the democratic process? She said. Why is the 1% deciding for the 99%? We have heard through reliable sources that this woman has threatened a lawsuit against the village. Well, many of us are lawyers, too. So we're wondering, should we get a lawyer? Do we have grounds to countersue? And so while lawyers consulted lawyers, despite their owners fretting, Chubbs, Jack, Louie, and all the other dogs appear unaware of their joyful morning romp, that their joyful morning romp has caused such a kerfuffle. The aforementioned, I didn't tell you about this, standard poodle whose name shall be withheld, because everyone says that dog does bark, did not make an appearance. After this reporter's dog spent some time digging, for the truth, we presume, he was asked what he thought of the park. Woof! Woof! He barked. The police did not come. And there you have it, a little postcard from the tonier part of town. Oh, Barbara, sorry I missed this one. She says, did you mention this other inhumane and confusing Trump policy? Here it is. U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services has sent out letters saying the agency will no longer consider deferrals of deportation for people with serious medical conditions. The program known as Medical Deferred Action allows people to remain in the U.S. for 2-year periods if they can prove extreme medical need. Many of the people affected by the policy change came to the U.S. through a visa or other permitted status. Oh, my God. You know, I met a woman here, wonderful woman, who came here from Mexico as a young woman because she had a heart She needed heart surgery. And she probably came and utilized this kind of a thing. And she's still here. She became a citizen. She works with other immigrants here. Unbelievable. Well, just trying to keep you up to date. I'll tell you what, I got a guest for you, as I promised, and this should be fun, too. The person who, excuse me, it's, whatever. You want to, yeah, Amy, let her in. It's Rossilynn. We'll have her come over here. I haven't met her myself, but I've talked to her on the phone. And feel free, by the way, to email and ask questions of her, because some of what we'll be talking about, it would seem, you might be interested in. Hi. Hello. How are you?
Great. How are you?
We're fine. Sit on down because we're on the air.
All right. Fantastic. Well, I'm glad to be here.
Thank
on a beautiful
you.
day.
Yeah. Oh, indeed. You're gonna sing.
All right.
Yeah. Right down to my level. Okay. So we sit real low and we go like this too, because you need to talk directly into
All right.
it. You look so familiar to me.
I'm sure we've met over the years at some covering something, maybe.
Covering something.
I bet.
So you've been a reporter in town for a long time?
That's right.
You don't look old enough to be for a long
Well,
time.
since I graduated college, so 10 years. Yes, working for the Valley News Dispatch at first, and then the Tribune Review in Greensburg. Did a bunch of freelancing for Thrillist and About.com, and now I'm with the Incline.
Okay. Now, I want to tell you, I think the Incline is fantastic.
Thank you.
I get a lot of news from it. I also get great facts and information and what's happening from it. And I don't even know what to call it. When I was trying to say, what would it be if it were in print form? It'd be a newspaper.
I suppose it would be a newspaper.
So what is it called?
Well, we call ourselves, we're a news website, so.
Okay.
But yeah, I suppose most akin to a newspaper. And we have a daily newsletter that comes out via email every morning, so that's sort of akin to a morning newspaper.
Yes, and that's what I get, the newsletter. Now, how do you get the newsletter?
Yes, so on our website, which is theincline.com, anyone can sign up. It's free. And we think of it as a roundup of everything you need to know in Pittsburgh to get your day started. So we've got the biggest news of the day, more of the heavier things, as well as some lighter things. I personally love Pittsburgh history, so as often as I can slip in Pittsburgh facts, I like to do that.
I love the stuff that you have in here.
Thank
and why,
you.
of course, can't I find it now? Oh, because it was on my phone.
Well, we did. You're probably going to ramp. We did a little bit on Pittsburgh history today, since it's Thursday, or Throwback Thursday, so to speak.
Right.
And we rounded up some of our favorite history reporting, which, as often as I can write about Pittsburgh history, I'll take that opportunity.
Oh my God! And how did you? It's just something that you love. Have a thing for?
I've always been fascinated about learning about the past. I grew up in a pre-Civil War era farmhouse, so I suppose it was sort of in me since the beginning.
So I'll just, so starting at today's, you do talk about the county council not voting against having essentially a police review board, right? Which is a little head scratching, I think, for all. You talked about, a marijuana breathalyzer being
isn't that
available.
So interesting. Pitt researchers came up with that.
So you mean if you get stopped by the cops now and you haven't been drinking, but maybe you've been token a little bit?
They will know.
Oh, shit. Okay. Well, damn it. Pitt. Okay. And, the lead coming out of okay. But this is you're right. It's this. This. I love this thing about the only mile marker. Tell people about that. I have to go look at it.
Yeah.
Now. This is from 1815.
Right. So this was a story that came about randomly, which, as you know, as a journalist, that's often how it happens.
Yes,
but
true.
I went out to Wilkinsburg to do a story about some artifacts that they had in their borough building there. And as I was talking to them, I noticed this stone out front that had no markings on it. It was just a plain stone, but it was clearly very special. And it was, there was gardening around it. So I asked, like, what's the story with this stone? And they said that it was called a mile marker. And back in the early 1800s, when people were coming through the Pittsburgh area,
starting to, this
this westward
people.
Expansion, right?
Yeah.
They would use these stones. They would mark every mile, and at that point, they did have numbers etched onto them, and it would basically tell you how far you've gone across the state, how far you've gone from the point of Pittsburgh, and that was sort of GPS at that time. So
and
imagine that.
That particular marker had on it that you were 7 miles or 6 miles.
I can't remember,
from
6
Pittsburgh,
or 7.
but
yeah.
I mean that would have been something that people would have said, "Oh." But I was shocked to find that these were placed every mile on what would have been like a dirt rutted road.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. So someone took the care to do that. I'm not exactly sure who placed them. Was it, the government, or was it local townspeople? I don't know.
But I thought you said in it that Ben Franklin was credited for
the idea. Yeah, that's right.
Well, almost any idea in this country, 1815 on back,
right,
it was Ben Franklin.
Yes, he had something to do with it.
What did he have? 20,000 ideas a day. Wow.
Well, he didn't have, Instagram or Twitter to keep his mind, so he probably just could come up with ideas all the time.
So they. But I never even. This is Rossilynn Culgan.
Oh, hello. Yes.
Jesus. Excuse me. Are you?
We just wanted to start talking.
Are you the founder of the Incline?
I am not. So it is we're coming up on our 3rd birthday in just a couple weeks, actually. I'm not the founder. I started at the Incline about 2.5 years in. So I've been there, since almost the very beginning, but not quite.
Now, people are going to want to know, how the hell who pays you?
Yeah.
You said you can sign up for the newsletter and it's free.
Yep.
Well, then how the heck do you...
Couple different ways. So the first is membership. So think of it as more of kind of a public radio model. You're getting the content for free, but we ask people who value the content to support. And that's been going really well. People do support, which is fantastic. So that's one way. We also have advertisements in our newsletter in a couple different places. And then I guess other streams that would be hopefully coming on board soon is some more advertising opportunities, sort of working with paid content, but we're not quite there yet. We're getting there. We're still very small, still a startup.
I can't believe the amount of work that must go in.
Yes.
To putting this out.
Yes.
Does it come out? It doesn't come out 7 days a week, does it?
5 days a week, just weekdays.
Okay,
Yep.
Yeah. Because, wow. I mean, wow. Wait, I got to get this other one. This, as you know, I canceled my Post-Gazette subscription, and it is true. I miss some stories now, but this is one of the ways I don't miss stories anymore, because you let me know.
Thank
you.
I
also can't tolerate watching local news.
Well, we watch I always say we read to the end of the internet every day. It's sort of like doing a book report on the internet. We read every news outlet, and this is, from blogs in town to the newspapers to local media, broadcast media. And then we filter for what we think our readers would be most interested in. And, it's that mix of the heavy stuff, the light stuff.
Do you have a sense of your readership? I mean,
we do. So we generally are reaching a millennial audience, but I will say we...
well, I bring that up a little bit.
But I will say, we are reaching across the board, which I find really... really wonderful to see that we're reaching a wide array of people. But I think the other thing people love about our newsletter is our events calendar, which I take great pride in that. I love doing it. So this is a quick list of events to do every day in Pittsburgh, and we have about 3 to 5 events for each day. I try to make them a wide array of things. So I'll specifically choose things that I wouldn't do because I want it to appeal to others. But people really love that. And I think that's like any age, all ages can love that. That's at the very bottom of our newsletter. So we hope people scroll to the bottom for it.
So, guys, you want this. You want this on your, you can get it for your phone. I'm always looking at it on my phone, but it's just a wonderful daily plethora of good information that you need. Did you know that they call it Panther Hollow because there were panthers in there?
Yeah, that was a great piece WESA did the other day. So as you know, one of the things we do is amplify others' reporting, and rather than aggregating and getting clicks for ourselves, we just link directly to that source.
Right.
So we'll say like, hey, WESA did this great story about panthers. Did you know this fun fact? Go read the rest of the story if you're interested.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they would welcome that.
I imagine, yeah.
However, if you don't subscribe to the PG and I try to link,
Yes.
this is pissing
I
me
know,
off because
it's
sometimes you'll
tough.
do that for the PG.
Yeah.
And you link to it and they say, you canceled your subscription, bitch.
Right.
Let's try to read this.
I know. That is a struggle. The Business Times, too, I know a lot of their content's behind a paywall. So we do try to keep that in mind. If there's a free source of the same story, we'll link to that. But we really try and link to the best story.
And also, I this week, you had a compilation of Black-owned businesses
Yeah, that's right.
in town. And I think that was wonderful for people, first of all, who want to help lift up Black entrepreneurs
Yep.
who are not, there are not a ton of them in this town. And the ones that you do see these are rather small, operations where they're trying to get off the ground. And I can't think of any better way to try to, again, make a measure of amends for what we've done to Black people in this country, to make an effort to support Black-owned businesses.
Yeah.
And so that was important to me to see
I'm so glad to hear that.
what those were. No, I really, really, really appreciated it. And then, so why did they call the T the T? I always thought it was, no, it's transit, I bet.
No.
It's trolleys.
No. It
It's-
really means, it literally stands for nothing. I know. Port Authority did basically a contest years ago, and someone suggested the T, which, other cities have T's, and it became the T. So I suppose you could imagine it might, that person who entered it might have been thinking transit or trolley, but we don't know.
But what?
Yeah. I know. It's a
I suppose
mystery.
the person said, let's call it the P. That wouldn't
Right.
work. But for Pittsburgh, no. But,
Well, I like
it
to
had-
imagine it was maybe someone named like Tim or something. And he's like,
He
oh,
said
let's
it's
call it
named
the
after
T for me.
After me. After me. Here we have somebody writing in, the Incline is amazing. It is so well written. The pieces are fascinating and entertaining. Keep up the good
Thank you so
Keep up
much.
the good work.
Thank you, friend.
Really.
That's
really.
wonderful.
Hell of a job. You have such quality. Actually, my producer, Amy, her husband is a professor at CCAC, and he had your Colin.
Oh, my goodness. What a small world. Yes.
Yeah.
Colin loved that.
Well, it went both. Colin is Colin
Deppen.
who was he a founder?
No, we
Who
both.
the hell founded this thing?
Well, so Colin and I started almost the same exact week.
Okay.
But the woman who was the predecessor to me, Lexi Belkufine, who was the first
Oh,
editor,
okay.
she
I
was
got
working
it.
at the Inquirer now.
That's right. She's
yes,
in Philly. Okay.
Yes. But Colin and I started almost the same day, and he absolutely loved that
He went
experience.
to talk to journalism students at CCAC, and Amy was telling me before you came in that the students are still talking about it. They
Oh
were
my
that
gosh.
excited by him. And you say he had.
Yeah.
See, people good stuff happened when you have both parties
That's right.
remembering
Yeah.
it.
He loved it. I mean, he's a phenomenal reporter and cares so much about the craft. So he was a perfect fit to go out there and talk to students.
I got to tell you, a friend of mine who's worked at the PG for, God, I don't know, 30 years, 25 years, finally took a buyout the other day. He's gone. I know so many former PG people, but, there's young people who are coming into journalism as newspapers are closing down. There are so many talented journalists in the city who are now doing this kind of work. And the Incline amplifies the work of, so you get stuff from Public Source. Public Source.
Yep.
And all these other folks who are doing the work. So I can't really talk up your
thanks.
publication. There's got to be a name.
I know. Yeah, it's not quite a blog. It's sort of an online community, but
what happened to the e-zine or e-zine?
Oh, yeah. Maybe
is that what
maybe
it is?
It could be
it's
that.
like a magazine, but
Yeah.
it's not quite.
It's not quite. I know.
Somebody come up with a name. And as if this poor woman doesn't have enough to do, she's written this book,
Yes.
100 Things to Do in Pittsburgh Before You Die. I got to tell you, I better step on it because I was. I mean, I've done a lot.
Okay.
But it's so true. When you live in a city, you don't make use of all the things that are there. And maybe if somebody comes to visit you from someplace else, you finally rouse yourself
Right.
and go to a museum with them or go to a restaurant or a. Isn't that bizarre?
It's so true. I mean, I've had things on my to-do list, my personal to-do list, that I never did until writing this book forced me to get out there and do it. So I hope that people who read the book will have that same experience, get out there and explore.
I mean, this town is amazing in terms of what you can do. And Rossilynn has, actually, there's a few things in here I did not know.
Oh, good.
About.
That makes me feel good.
Okay.
So the checks are things you've done or not?
No.
Done? The checks are things.
I bet they were done, especially
Okay.
in the food and drink. It would be almost all.
Okay. The food
and drink.
Yes. I could write a whole book about just Pittsburgh food
Yeah,
and
right.
drink.
Although I don't like a lot of it.
No?
If you want to know
What's
the
your
truth. I'm not-
favorite?
I don't know, but Primanti's is not it.
Right. Well,
When I started reading it, I thought, oh, cool, Primanti's is not the number one. Oh, it's not 2. It's not 3, 4, 5, 6. I thought, maybe she left Primanti's off or when. No, and it came in at
Yes.
17.
Well, they're not ranked necessarily. They
All
are
right,
presented
but
in random
still.
order. But yeah, I mean, that's, a classic.
Okay, here's one I didn't know about. Have a photo shoot at the Color Park.
Yes.
What's that?
It's on the south side. It is beautiful. I wish I could show you a picture of it, but it is this area where artists have painted in these vibrant colors, sort of a graffiti park. And it's a place where people can go and paint graffiti without, someone coming and yelling at them. You're welcome to
It's
come
all
and
about painting
experience.
graffiti.
Exactly. So it changes pretty often. There are pieces by Baron Batch there, as well as
Former Steeler, now a
Yep.
local artist.
but it's a lot of fun. You'll see people and their dogs there, taking pictures of each of themselves.
We
It's
were
really
just
cute.
talking about dogs. Yeah. Okay. So, wait a minute. I thought I had it here. Where is it?
Let's see.
Okay. Wait. I want to let people because I'd like to go. Oh, 62. I'd like. I mean, I was just what? Never heard of it.
Yeah.
So it's at it's on the Three Rivers Heritage Trail on South Side, around South
Fourth.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, you want to go to the south side, right? Start there, and then head towards the river. It kind of spans a couple of blocks, but you'll find it. You can't miss it. It's very vibrant and bright.
I can't believe I've never seen it. And then there's something I've never been to, but I
Okay.
have heard about, and that we have so many museums. When's the last time you went to the History Center? When's the last time you went to the Science Center? When's the last time you went to the Frick or the Warhol? And these are the kinds of things that Pittsburghers, I don't think, do
Yeah.
until someone.
Until you have a visitor in town, right?
So the one is the Bayer.
The Baronhof.
Baronhof.
Oh, I love it.
Okay,
You've got to
so
go.
Where? Okay, this is over there.
Over in O'Hara.
Right.
So it's a music machine museum. These are antique music machines. It's so quirky, so different. And
So the guy who did it is what? He lives there?
Not anymore. So he's passed away now, but he was a single gentleman, and he wanted kind of to have a museum that would live on after he died, and indeed it does. So he created this 18,000 square foot mansion, and this was in the 80s. So imagine it's like Bavarian, but with an 80s style.
Is this the one, if I'm crossing the Highland Park Bridge, do I see it up on the hill?
Oh, that's a good question.
There's a big, I think I see it.
It's possible. I mean, that's definitely the right, I'm trying to think of the geography. That's definitely the right location. I've never seen it from that angle.
Okay, well, I know that maybe it isn't it. So how do you, you have to make an appointment?
You do have to make a reservation because it's very small, and they'll have, well, it's actually giant, but the spaces are small, I should say, and they'll have a guide walk you through. The guides are phenomenal. You learn all about this man's history. You learn all about the music machine history, the architecture. It's a blast. It's really quirky. Highly recommend.
The last time I had visitors here, I went to Randyland.
Mm-hmm.
And, that is, how do you explain that to anybody?
Yeah, Randyland sort of defies explanation, doesn't it? But it's such a treat, and it's getting so much attention. Last time I was there, it was, packed. There were kids playing in the sand. There were people taking pictures. It was really beautiful.
Yeah, it really is getting a lot of attention. If you've never been over there, it's like right around the Mexican Morris Street. It's on the north side. Bring a kid.
Yeah. And a camera. It's right by the mattress factory.
Right. Bring a kid and a camera and just enjoy the sheer quirkiness and the amount of work that had to go into it.
Oh gosh, and still goes into it. He changes the decoration, so to speak, pretty often. So when I was there most recently, I got to see them painting some new trees that were going to be coming out soon. So it's always a work in progress, I suppose.
Okay, here's one that I went to as a reporter myself when I first got to Pittsburgh, and haven't been back since, but I was like blown away, and that's St. Anthony's.
Yes, I was also blown away. It feels like you're in the Vatican. I mean, it's
What
unbelievable.
the hell? Now, this is a relatively small church on the north side, right? Is that where
Troy
I was?
Hill.
Troy Hill. And it's amazing. It's got all these, personally, I'm a non-believer. It's got so many saints' hair and toenail clippings.
Yeah, right.
It's got, but it's beyond belief.
It is. And I think, no matter
how would that have ended up here?
Yeah, well, so it was the priest at that time was very into these religious relics, and he funded the building of this space to keep the relics and to have the relics there. But yeah, there are 5,000. And, a few years ago on a family trip, I got to visit the Vatican, and it feels like a piece of the Vatican.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah.
I've been in the Vatican too, and you're right. It is like a little piece of the Vatican in Pittsburgh. Do any of you guys have places that, are off the beaten track? That, like, at one point you say, walk the steps. No, thank you. Unless you meant walk down the steps.
Right.
There are people who have done that or have made it.
Yeah. Some people do it, still for commuting, and then others do it. There's a step trek that's coming up, I believe, in the fall, September, I think.
Not off the top of your head. You don't know how many of these staircases there are in Pittsburgh.
Oh, it's like 740, I think.
I'd never seen anything like it. When you first come here to live, and you find out that the sidewalks here turn into these, unbelievable steps, because Pittsburgh is like this. And I have a set of steps right near my house that is very steep.
Oh, yes.
And then a little ways over, there's a slightly less steep one that you can use. But right in my neighborhood, where I walk my dog, there are 3 of these staircases that I do, in fact, use.
Yeah.
Up, down. And you walk right by somebody's, they're in between people's houses. You
Right.
look in their window. I mean, it is so bizarre.
It is. It is amazing. Threadbare Cider House in Spring Garden has started doing tours. They're called Stair Stepping and Cider Sipping. And so
I don't know if those go together.
I think you do the stairs before you sip
then
the
you
cider.
do the cider. Okay.
But yeah, that's a fun way to just, if you want to explore the steps, just to get out and have some fun
really,
with it.
Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, there are still some that blow my mind in my neighborhood where you walk up one from right around where the mayor lives, and then you walk up. It seems like you're walking onto somebody's property.
Mm-hmm.
And it drops you into what appears to be somebody's driveway, but it can't be because that's a public.
Right. I suppose. Yeah. The jurisdiction there is a little murky, isn't it?
I love it. I mean, I just flat out love it. Okay, this I never heard about. I'm talking about all these museums we have. What about the Smog Museum?
Yeah. So
Ever hear of that?
So that one's a little bit
I
of a
would not.
drive.
Well, I wouldn't want to go anyway. I mean, it
I
sounds
know.
like...
It's sad. I mean, it's
Oh, don't tell me it's in...
Denora.
Denora.
Yeah. So it's really a horrific story, but a cautionary tale of why we need environmental regulations. So yeah, it is a poignant story. It is on page 102.
Right. I keep mixing up the...
I know.
What?
But yeah, it's a poignant story. So it's worth experiencing if you can get down to Denora. It is a drive, and I will caution that they do have limited hours. It's run by a historical society.
Yeah,
So
it's a small town.
Call before you go. Make sure that they're there.
A lot of people died, and it was an
Yeah.
inversion, right? What we
Yeah.
call where the smog just hung right over, and I had a boyfriend once in Madison, Wisconsin, right before I came here, who was from Denora. And
No way.
yeah, I said, so where are you from? He said, well, around Pittsburgh, and I said, yeah, and he said, well, it's a little town called Denora. And then he told me, that's the first I'd heard of it, and this is just odd since we're sitting here in the Pittsburgh City paper talking to another journalist here, he was the editor of the Madison Alternative.
Oh, nice. What a small world.
From Denora. Yeah. It just, that all came together somehow.
Right.
His
Oh,
name
that's neat.
was Vince O'Hearn. Vince O'Hearn. If there's any O'Hearns in Denora, I had a little bit of a fling with you, one of you, right after my divorce. Read the Incline every day, says Barbara.
Oh,
And
thanks, Barbara.
Beinerhoff, is that how it's
Bayernhof.
Bayernhoff. Oh, yeah, I see. Bayernhoff was featured on CBS Sunday Morning
I
in
saw
March.
that. It's getting some love.
Okay. And she wants to say that the appeal of Primanti's in the Strip is that it's open 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I'd
That's
rather go hungry, thank you very much.
It's controversial, you know.
I'm always embarrassed when people come, especially the sports people, and they say on, Monday Night Football, oh, yeah, you gotta go to Primanti's. Saying, no, don't. It's awful.
It is controversial, but it is open late night. Very true. 24 hours. If you got a craving.
Kurt says another spot I have yet to check out, the Trundle
Yeah.
Manor.
I haven't been to this one either, Kurt. It's in Swissvale, I believe.
What the hell?
And it's sort of a
Eyeballs?
oddities and a little creepy from what I've read.
Oh, that sounds scary. I'm
Yeah.
looking at. We are not an escape room. What the hell are they? They're weirdos.
Yeah, it's kind of like I don't know,
Is
sort
it
of
like the?
not quite a haunted house, just a oddities place, I believe. But again, I've never been there either, so it's on my list as well.
Well, they don't have that really. So you guys knew about it. So
The most unusual
does-
tourist trap in the world. it
I would
says.
not want to. They said they've been on MTV.
Wow.
I would not want to go in a place like that.
I'm not so good with scary things, but I
No.
did include Scare House.
I
in
know
the
you
book.
did. Did
I
you
know.
go into it?
I have been there. I've never been into the basement, which, you have to sign a waiver to do that. I'm not
Oh, dear
here
God.
for that.
Oh, my God. The most unusual tourist trap in the world meets the most bizarre private collection on public display. Well, I don't know.
There's always something to add to the list. That's what I've learned from writing this book.
Hey, well, Kurt, check it out and get back to us, okay, about it. It's all. I mean, there's all this stuff here. Stuff you should know about. All these places you should have gone. I'm not gonna make it before I die.
Oh,
There
come
ain't-
on.
What do you
You
mean?
got
I'm
this.
I'm half dead already. You got a shot, but not me.
You got this.
This wonderful woman. Go to the Incline.com.
Theincline.com, that's right.
Sign up.
Yeah, and if folks want to learn more about the book, it's 100thingspittsburgh.com.
All of that. Geez, what do you do in your spare time? It's a good thing you're young.
Yeah, I don't have too much spare time, but it's a labor of love, so.
You're obviously from here.
Yeah, well, I grew up in Westmoreland County, and then I
Okay.
live in the Strip District now.
Okay, great. It was a pleasure.
Likewise, thank you so
much. Is this not better than talking about Donald Trump's latest atrocity? Indeed it is. All right, I won't be here tomorrow. I won't be here Saturday or Sunday. And guess what? I ain't going to be here Monday either because it's Labor Day, okay? But I'll be back on Tuesday, and I'll look forward to it. Have a great weekend.